Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cleanings presented by Bolin Media. I am Ross Bolin here with the man with the immaculate hair, Barrett Dudley, to discuss and review the penultimate episode of Silo Season 2 on Apple TV+. Huge week for us, Barrett. Enormous.
Very big week. One, I know what you're referring to in the first place is we now get to change Who Built the Silo to What is the Safeguard?
Yep.
That's number one, obviously. But then two, you must be referring to Severance premiere on Friday night.
On Friday night, meaning Thursday night. Because Apple TV+. After 3 years of waiting, though.
3 years, yeah.
3 years of waiting.
Indeed.
We will see the Season 2 premiere of Severance on Apple TV+ later this week, and we will begin our Severance Season 2 coverage next week as a result. Very exciting stuff.
Super exciting. I'm having people kind of like in my sphere at work. They're just discovering the show, they're catching up on it, or they're rewatching. I've seen multiple posts about like little 15-minute catch-up sessions if you've waited too long and you don't have time for the full rewatch. But I'll tell you what, as I said, maybe on Patreon or maybe last week, like I'm through 6 episodes of 9 now from season 1.
Right.
And I've gone super fast. That's taken me maybe a week, maybe a little over a week. And I'm not the fastest TV watcher either. So if you're a binger, you can hum through this thing. I think at least 3 of the episodes come in at like 41 minutes. We're not
a full hour.
One of the reasons why this TV show is good is because it stays tight. It does not give you a fucking 67-minute episode. Sorry for the hard F there.
There's no diving?
Every single episode.
There's no diving scenes?
There's also no diving scenes. But yeah. Really nicely paced. The rewatch is awesome. My ass is out here like pausing every time something comes up on the screen with words on it because I pause and I read it. And it just what a fun little ride, man. I can't wait to discuss. I can't wait to talk about this show. It's we need this, Ross.
We desperately need.
We
this.
need Big Sev back in the building.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute since we had like cream of the crop, best of the best TV.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing, just for some what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't matter. I've seen some early reviews. From the critics who have gotten to watch the season already, and the buzz is beginning to build. Very positive.
The bees are buzzing.
Very positive buzzing from the bees.
Yeah.
So far, also. It does take a lot to get an F-bomb out of you. And it's only right that it was in regard to the length of
something. Yeah. It's just so nice when I'm like, oh, do I have time to watch this next episode? 42 minutes. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Instead of 1 hour, 9 minutes.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Of course, we've also got the Silo Season 2 finale on Friday as well, but before predicting anything about that, we'll dive into the penultimate episode. Are you ready to discuss?
Oh, I'm ready, Russ.
So we've been complaining about Juliet's...
I'm over here sharpening my knife.
We've been complaining about Juliet's storyline in Silo 17, where she has spent all of this season.
Yeah.
We've been complaining all season long, calling it significantly worse than what happened with Season 2 of House of the Dragon and Daemon being stuck in Harrenhal. Fortunately, there was at least some depth added to that this week when the penultimate episode gave us a little redemption there. Penultimate episode of Silo Season 2, titled The Safeguard, starts out with a flashback which shows us that the other people in Silo 17 who have kidnapped Solo have actually been observers and at times like active participants in all of the shenanigans that Juliet has endured this season, right? They've basically been watching her since she first arrived.
Right.
So Solo was not the only survivor in this silo.
Yep.
Hashtag alliteration. Some other residents established their own little dwelling and have lived there for like multiple generations.
Yeah.
It's to the point that the kids Juliet is dealing with now have literally never known anything else. They were like born in here.
Yeah, and like one of their moms was just a baby when the silo
rebellion occurred.
Yeah,
or whatever.
When the rebellion occurred.
When they opened the door.
When they opened the door.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 of them are actually a couple.
Yeah.
Audrey and Rick, who have at least one kid of their own. A baby, right?
I'm Pickle Rick.
There's a baby. Pickle Rick. Old Pickle Rick shout out for you, kids. So they've been tracking Juliet, sabotaging her missions. Like they cut her wire when she was like swinging between levels so that she almost fell.
But then Pickle Rick throws her the buoy, throws her a little canister to float on.
That's when they cut the rope that dropped her into the water. They've just been cutting cords left and right. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you're referring to the scuba, when she goes scuba.
No, I'm referring to when she's like trying to swing her way across.
Oh, yes, and they cut. Yeah,
and she just barely makes it. And
and then she falls in.
No, I think that was a separate cutting of a cord.
I think she falls in. I think she.
You might be right. You might be right. They messed up her dive to the water pump as well. The scuba mission, cutting cords there.
You like scuba?
That's a great reference. All-time character. What's that guy? Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria.
Fantastic. And Along Came Polly. Audrey is a real bitch, Barrett. She's just got no room for eaters, man.
No, she doesn't. She's got a chip on her shoulder, that one.
Yeah. Whereas the chick she calls Eater and Rick, her partner, aren't nearly as cold-blooded.
Right.
Audrey blames Solo for the death of her parents. We're told that he killed her parents. They're the two fresh corpses outside the vault door that got referenced over and over and over to make sure we couldn't forget about them.
Yes.
So a lot of this episode centers on Juliet trying to keep Audrey, who is like the sort of unhinged leader of this group, from killing Solo, who they have imprisoned, right? And their deal that they set up is basically, you go find us the code to the vault door, and we won't kill this guy. So Juliet goes through Solo's old room where he grew up. That's like his home, his childhood home, right? And she's looking for clues to the vault's entrance code, which is when she finally puts together what I think the rest of us had kind of put together a few episodes ago, that Solo was just a child when the rebellion happened.
Yeah.
He was the son of the head of IT, but he like oddly considered himself to be the head of IT's shadow, not his son, or he won't like openly acknowledge. He even calls his dad by like his first name or whatever. Right. So weird thing there, some kind of trauma situation. His dad ordered him, like when the door got open to the outside world, his dad ordered him to stay in the vault and never open it for anyone. So Solo, otherwise known as Jimmy, watched through the vault window, watched as his dad was murdered, rather than open it and disobey his orders. So all of this was better. That was better. Like, I felt like this was like at least a step in the right direction in terms of making this a little more interesting. I don't think the way that they executed the storyline, like you referenced a couple weeks ago, that they kept giving us shots from inside Silo 17, like someone else was watching Juliet.
Yeah, they go to this like bird's eye view that always felt very like someone
else might be here.
Yes.
See, and I never picked up on that.
Yeah.
So like I don't think they laid it on thick enough for the dum-dums like me. And then two, it didn't feel like a big payoff, really, when they reveal in this episode, like, hey, actually other people have been screwing with her in these missions and whatnot. And we had a Patreon caller who had mentioned, like, some of the things y'all are complaining about.
Yeah.
There is something else going on there that they're not doing a very good job of highlighting.
Right.
And that was this.
Yeah.
So it was okay. It just, I don't know if it paid off as much as they thought it would. In my opinion, they might as well have just shown us like, oh shit, there are people here sabotaging her throughout the course of the season, because it didn't really add any suspense for me to not know that.
Yeah. I first want to say that I did hop around on Reddit a little bit just to see what some folks were saying about a few things as far as storylines and what the reactions were to this season as a whole in this episode. And so I want to say, if you are a book reader out there, if you loved the Silo trilogy and the book Wool and all that, then I understand how some of this may feel like a payoff for you. And it's always enjoyable to see properties that you love brought to life on the screen, regardless of the quality. I think it's always kind of like an enjoyable thing.
Yeah, to be able to visualize it, enjoy it visually.
Yeah. I think this was the worst episode of Silo to date.
Really?
Yeah. I thought this was big trash. Big trash. And it makes me, I'm not sure that I want to keep watching the show anymore into season 3.
Wow.
I thought that
this one broke you.
It really did. I thought that the reveals were lame, and we kind of already knew. And then every step, like you never want your main protagonist character to be way behind where the audience is. That's
so like the Solo
never,
being a kid when it happened.
A good thing. Yes.
Yeah,
the fact that we were able to put that together with the context clues that are just like in front of us, and she's not, is bad. That's bad.
Even in the first scene where I figured it out, where I was like, oh shit, he was a child, like a schoolboy when this happened. It felt weird that she was still so off. Like she still wasn't getting it. The point that like it lagged out so long that we were like, maybe that isn't the case. Maybe he wasn't a child. Like it was confusing for the audience because
he
it just
never
lingered.
Lies about it. She just doesn't bother to ask. Hey, when did all this shit happen?
Yeah, why not? Why not ask?
Why is she just assume like there would be something. I realize that the tech is all the same, and this is like and it doesn't really develop in these silos. So 40 years ago is the same as now or whatever. But like, don't you have some idea of what like a decomposing body might look like a couple years in versus 40 years in?
Well, that's the thing.
Wouldn't there be dust?
She was places? She kept pointing out, wow, these two bodies are way less crispy. You know what I mean? Like these are fresh.
Like everything about this would just suggest, man, I think this place has been defunct for a long ass time.
Right.
The
amount of water.
Right. The just everything failing, nothing being. There's one. All of that drove me a little bit crazy. We also kind of like had been teed off from the camera angles that there might be other people here.
Not me, just you.
And then they jump in to the backstory of the kids and the little crew that's up there. And I mean, like, mercifully, they didn't take that long with it.
Oh, thank God, yeah.
But then to like act like to try to give us. Let me ask you this before I say, did you feel anything during the like kind of like emotional resolution between all these people?
I mean, not to the degree I think they meant us to.
I felt a big fat 0.
You just didn't care.
I just did not care. None of this worked for me. I'm supposed to you spent 9 episodes not telling me about these people, and then in 40 minutes I'm supposed to care big time about them.
So here's my
with
only
a tiny little backstory.
My only counter argument is that the thing I cared about emotionally was Solo. I was like, good for him. Getting to show people like his vault and not being extremely alone anymore and sharing ice cream with the folk, like that did do a little something for me at least.
Yeah.
But to your point, I do not care about Audrey and Pickle Rick.
I mean, just the eater. The whole thing, that whole thing, and then her with the arrow cocked back. She's like, I'm gonna kill him.
Didn't love that either.
Juliet has to say, and he has to tell the story, and he has to show the bullet wound, and I'm just like, it did. I feel pretty tapped in to like you can make me cry pretty easily in TV, and I felt nothing during this. Emotionally void. I thought it was so poorly done and poorly executed and not well told over the course of this season.
Now I wish I'd gotten to watch it with you.
There was no like kind of to your point about not really laying it on thick enough, like. If you want, for me, if you want these two people, these two sides to have this big kind of like finding common ground. Oh, we had the story misunderstood the whole time.
Right.
Then you build the tension up between these two people. You build that battle, that fight, that hatred up. But we didn't even technically know about them until this episode.
Yeah, for a show that has really dragged everything out, they did the opposite with the tension building between the two groups.
And so they played it as like the more important part was the reveal that there are other people there. But then they just rushed out the story of who these people were and what happened between them and their parents in Silo. And I just felt completely like the best way I can frame it is that I just felt nothing watching this. I was like, okay, all right. Okay, got it. Now we're finally into the vault. He's been living here for 40 years, so it's all a mess, and he's drawn all over the walls and all that type of stuff.
Made a shit ton of like birds out of paper.
And he has
boats and
he has ice cream.
Shit.
He's got ice cream and a full range of food for 40 years that they also still have yet to explain. how anybody is how the vault is serving food, how there's
where is the food?
Where's the
how
food?
Does he get the
how
food?
does it get made?
He says he's going to heat the food. Okay, let me finish this last.
Yeah,
So
just this whole thing. Like, I'm glad it's over. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, I think that's how we're going to feel about the season on the whole when it's all said and done.
And I guess it was nice that Juliet like cared enough to save Solo. You know?
Okay, well, let's get to that. All right, for Audrey's parents, it turns out, figured out the vault code, broke in when Solo was sleeping. This was also a wrinkle that I was like, ugh. Shot him with his own gun, which he foolishly left by the front fucking door. And then they died because they went into the food pantry, which doesn't have air, and he snapped off the inside handle so that they couldn't get out and just shut the door.
Yeah.
So essentially, it goes from Audrey being like, I hate everyone and everything because this fucker killed my parents, to, well, he didn't really kill my parents. They sort of shot a sleeping boy or man, I guess. They didn't really say how long ago that was either.
Yeah.
A sleeping man with his own gun and then tried to steal his food, and he just happened to, wake up from the gunshot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't check in, like, they shot him and were like, all right, we're good, let's go. They didn't, like, check to make sure he was dead. That was just another thing I was like, all that effort, the time and energy and the threat of starvation, the code cracking, they get in there, shoot a sleeping dude, and then just rush up into the food area without, like, making sure he's dead? Anyway.
Yeah.
So Jimmy locked him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jimmy Solo. And so Juliet exposes all of this in what was supposed to be a very tense scene that it just didn't, because again, we touched on this last week, but like, Juliet is not going to die here. So a woman pointing a bow and arrow at them angrily. Also, it pissed me off how long she was able to hold the arrow back. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done bow hunting or like shot a bow? It's fucking strenuous. Like, that takes some serious effort.
Yeah.
And I kept being like, she's going to get tired. She's going to accidentally shoot it. She's going to have to put her arm down. Anyway, all that gets exposed. And then Audrey, they convince Solo Jimmy to let these folks into his vault for food so that they and their baby don't die. Because it turns out he's just like a sweet, good-hearted kid underneath it all, right? He's just a little 12-year-old boy trapped in a grown, hairy man's body.
Right.
Gives him a tour of the vault, gives him the ice cream. Juliet tells Solo Jimmy that she found his father's emergency evac suit because he gives her the other suit he has in there, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, there was...
he gives her the fire suit.
So here, just one thing to put a pin in. 2 suits.
Yeah.
2 suits. I'm guessing Eater is going to go with Juliet.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Juliet, what else?
And I'm going to be mad if she doesn't, because that's another thing. By the way...
They telegrammed it, though.
The Silo trilogy, I'm pretty sure it's not YA. I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be like modern sci-fi.
Not young adult.
Does this not feel like YA to you?
This show? Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then you introduce a character named Eater, and now like all I can think about is like the book Holes.
Yeah.
Didn't
love the Eater angle either.
No, it was bad, dude. And like, and you can't name a character Eater for 20 pages of a book or for 10 minutes of a show. Like, that character has to stay around because you named her Eater.
Also, why are you giving her such a hard time? You popped a kid out. You got a baby. That's a mouth to feed.
She's not a great person that doesn't want to repopulate this silo and keep everybody. I don't know. It just...
Audrey sucked. But yeah,
but was completely just broken by the revelation that Solo only sort of killed her parents.
Right. By suffocating them to death slowly.
I don't know.
In a food vault.
It was weird.
So Solo Jimmy asks her, like, he's like, that's one thing I don't understand. Like, you could have left. Why didn't you leave? And she just looks at him, and he puts his hand on her shoulder.
I think she puts her hand on his shoulder.
I think he touches her.
Okay. There's some touching.
There's touching. It's touching.
It is. Yeah.
No touching. Yeah. So the question I have here at the bottom of my outline is, so how do we feel about the Silo 17 storyline this week, Barrett?
Yeah, I couldn't bottle it up to get through the entire all.
So you hated it, and I
hated it.
I didn't hate it as much as you did, but here's the thing: I have very much lowered my expectations for this show based on this season.
And actually, I honestly, I want to pull that back. And I know I'm being really like heated about how I felt about it. But that's the thing, is that I didn't hate it. Hating it implies that
you
evoked
felt
something.
That you
in me.
felt something.
Yes. And honestly, like that is what I was just, honestly, I was shocked. I was shocked that was the culmination of this storyline. And I was shocked at how little this TV show understood what it takes to like make something feel complete or emotionally resonant. Because this was not it. This just didn't. This is not how you write something that makes an impact. Like I just found out about these characters last episode.
Yeah.
And now I'm supposed to care about not only their like entire backstory and arc to get here, but then also this resolution with this guy that they've been essentially like battling and hunting for years.
Seems like.
I don't know. It was a total whiff.
Yeah, they've got. Look, they've got one more episode to try and make this suck less. Like, I'm not even saying it's possible, but it could happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will. It just talking through Silo 17 and what we saw in the penultimate episode. It does seem like someone is definitely going to leave with Juliet.
Yeah.
It seems like it's definitely going to be Eater.
Seeing as how she asks to go with her.
Since she literally brings it up
Yeah.
in this episode. And then there just happens to be a second suit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand why Juliet would trust Eater to be part of her squad. If she's going to take anybody, it seems like it should be Solo, but he's obviously going to want to stay with the Vault. It seems like Vault or Silo 17 has a chance to sort of start rebuilding now. They've got access to food. They all do. They've got access to the Vault. Solo and them are like on decent terms. I suppose we're supposed to believe that now he can function as part of their group, even though he's a 12-year-old boy inside of a man's body who the leader of the other group literally hated.
He loves drums, though. You know, he's got that going for him.
Yeah, he does have some drums. Nice little drum set in there. And some music, Monster Mash. I was like, oh, he's going to throw on like Mozart. Monster Mash is what he's been fucking. No wonder he's insane.
But you know, Ross, some say that music, it's even better than ice cream.
Even better than ice cream. I still see Steve Zahn's performance has been really good. Okay, there's a positive thing. That's a positive thing to say. But yeah, I mean, I'm just curious how they wrap up the Silo 17 thing next week. Like, if anything else is going to happen outside of Juliet and whoever she takes with her, Eater, leaving the Silo. Like, are we gonna have to walk? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're gonna do there.
It's not that long of a walk.
No, it's pretty close by.
Yeah, they just pop on those suits. They'll be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah. And I guess we'll have to wait and see what's happening in Silo 18 before we can really predict how that whole going back home works out.
It's a tinderbox in there, Ross.
Yeah.
Whole place is about to blow.
You know what Juliet could have really used this season in Silo 17? Today's sponsor, Factor Meals. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. If you're like me, there are some days you get home from work or school or whatever, and you need to be able to just plop down on the couch and enjoy the next episode of your favorite TV show without worrying about what's for dinner. Factor takes this dream and makes it possible with the best meals delivered straight to your door. Dinner time at my house can be extremely chaotic with 2 little kids and 4 dogs. So it's nice that my wife and I can turn to Factor to make sure our family is still eating well when we don't have the time or energy to cook. Got my latest box of Factor over the weekend. Actually had a Factor meal for lunch on Saturday and for dinner last night on Sunday. Delicious, fast, convenient, incredible food. Yummy, yummy in my tummy, Barrett.
Guess what, Ross?
What?
I just had a Factor.
Wow.
No less than an hour ago.
Oh, for the lunch?
Yeah.
So you got some Factor swimming in your belly as we speak?
Right now, as we speak. As
no wonder you're so fired up today.
As my voice hits your ears, there's Factor food.
If you've been wondering, where's all this energy coming out of Barrett? F-bombs and fervor? It's because of Factor, folks. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. You can choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/OCC50 off and use code OCC50OFF, OCC50OFF, to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code OCC50OFF at factormeals.com/OCC50OFF to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That is a new code, Clam Fam. Make note of it. It's also in the details, the description of this episode on whatever platform you are enjoying it. Factormeals.com/OCC50OFF to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Okay, now it's time to talk Silo 18, which is still the better storyline. Albeit this week it's the one that like acts as a massive tease. So Mechanical continues planning their rebellion, right? Yeah. Billings, the former sheriff, I guess he's been debadged, but he still has it. So until someone takes it, he considers himself sheriff. He and his wife are now like all in on going to attempt to make an alliance with Judge Sims and his wife, Camille. Billings shows Sims his picture of nature from the before times above ground.
Yep.
Sims goes and like talks with his wife about this and is basically like, nobody trusts me or likes me because I've been a huge prick my entire life.
Yeah.
And I'm unable to make any facial expression outside of generally frustrated.
Menacing.
Everybody's scared of him, right? So his wife, Camille, is like, people like me. So she commits to the cause on their behalf.
Yeah.
So they kind of have
this is Ross. This is what she was setting up for the whole time.
The whole time.
This is why she let them go.
She saw this coming.
She saw it coming.
An opportunity for them to play both sides.
Yeah.
So Common will remain faithful to some degree to the mayor, right? And then Camille will be a rebel.
But now Judge Sims, aka Common, he's going to be doing a little double agenting, I think.
Right. Yeah. Right. Feeding her the info.
Yeah.
She feeds it to them. A little pipeline of.
Yeah. I like the Common turn to good guy.
Yeah.
Sort of.
He's not all the way there yet.
Right.
I still feel like he's going to kill his wife. I don't know why. I'm like, how can they make this character worse? And that's the only option.
Yeah.
Because he's at the rock bottom. You can't go further down than he is. Anyway, so Walker continues to operate as a mole for the mayor, allowing Knox, the main dude in Mechanical, our head rebel man, to tell her of the rebellion's plans while knowing they are in view of Bernard's cameras, right? But
tricksy hobbitses.
It does seem like like Knox is aware that, because he comes in and he's like, Walk, I figured out who the rat is.
Right, he's lying. Yeah.
It's her. He knows it's her.
He does.
And he makes up this thing. He's like, it's Mary.
Yeah, it's Timmy's wife or something.
Yeah. Her son is up there, and like she just wants to protect her son. So, and he's like talking to Walk, like basically saying, I can't even be mad at you.
Right.
We get that you want to save your ex-wife who you haven't seen in 2 decades.
Right.
What's her name? Doesn't matter. McLean. But now we're in a real pickle because nothing we're doing is working. And he says, that gunpowder we used, we're going to use the rest of it.
Yeah.
But doesn't tell her how. Anyway, clearly he's going to use knowing that Walk is the rat to feed disinformation to the mayor, Holland.
Misinformation, some would even say.
Yes, misinformation.
Both information of both the dis and mis varieties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a fun little twisteroo there, I guess. That was all right. I didn't hate that.
I didn't hate that.
Like, okay,
I didn't hate that. No, it's good. Good little,
Because frankly,
classic, I know that you know that you know that he knows that I know that you know type stuff.
Yeah. But like this is the kind of thing about the Silo 17 storyline and her not figuring out that Solo was a child when the rebellion occurs pisses me off because it's like, this is obvious. And when they're like, we've got a mole, like, I wonder who the mole could be. You know what? Maybe it's the old lady who hasn't shut the fuck up about how the only thing we should be doing is trying to free her ex-wife.
And wandered off into a situation which you called a trap.
And then came back and was like, oh no, I'm scared again. I can't leave my apartment. Like, yeah, it was her. It was fucking obviously her. So I was that's why I was happy about this. Because I was like, okay, thank God.
Yes.
Because there's no way. And when he first delivers the line about like Timmy's wife or whatever, I was like, you got to be fucking shitting me. And then it hit me. And I was oh, thank God.
Got the camera on. He knows there's There's eyes and ears in there.
Yeah. So good for Knox.
Yeah.
Got a good head on his shoulders. And then the only other part of the episode is that Lucas continues working on Salvador Quinn's code, this was, again, maybe I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, but last week we talked a lot about how him getting the message that was like, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. What was it? It was said like, if you've come this far, you know the game is rigged.
Game is rigged. Yeah.
We were like, surely on Patreon, we were like, surely that's not the end of the road.
Yeah.
There has to be more to that. I think you even guessed like he probably has gotten this, or maybe it was one of our callers that was like, thought that Lucas
got as far as Judge Meadows did.
Yeah. Or as current Mayor Holland has gotten
perhaps
as well. So somehow he continues on his code breaking quest.
So the code that we see him write down is not the end of the transcription. There's more. He kept going. Yes.
And he finds out a bunch of information, like the fact that there are 50 other silos, which you were right about, by the way. You had that number correct on Patreon.
I feel like at some point somebody mentions that.
Yeah.
Bernard must mention that earlier in this season or
somebody
in
dropped
1.
that number.
Yeah, because I felt like I had that one.
And of course, yeah, like you just said, Bernard already knew all this.
Yes.
All the stuff that he comes in with, he's like, good, you've done it.
And
now,
then Bernard,
now go further.
Bernard, clarifies that there are actually 51, which I also take as confirmation that there's a central body.
Yep. Yeah. A governing silo.
Some type of governing silo, yes, that has control over the remaining 50.
Yeah.
Or the other 50.
I hope we get to see inside of that one at some point. I bet it's baller compared to these fucking shit silos 17 and 18 that we've been in.
I'm getting robot or AI vibes from Central Silo.
Well, let's get to that.
Yeah,
so
continue.
Lucas discovers that there's a safeguard for when rebellions get out of hand. Bernard is also aware of this, right? But Lucas also discovers the tunnel down under the silo or whatever. So he convinces Shirley from Mechanical, Knox's right-hand woman that he makes out with, to take him down to the spot where Juliet used to hang with her boyfriend, that was so long ago, I don't even remember his fucking name.
George,
yeah, George was cool. What happened to George? Did George clean? Or didn't they just kill George?
They just kill him, yeah.
They just whacked George.
They whacked
R.I.P. George.
Yeah.
He was a good character. Takes him down there where Juliet and George used to get freaky, and in exchange for him telling her what he knows about Juliet, which is that in her helmet camera, she made it to another silo and then it turned off, right? So she could still be alive. And then Shirley's like, great trade. Good luck to you, sir. And leaves before this man goes down a rope and he, gives her the spiel about how he thinks the water is supposed to be higher, so he doesn't think it's that deep and, he's going to be able to walk around when he gets down there or whatever. I just had a really hard time believing that if you're Shirley, you don't stay and see how that goes. She was just like, I have no interest in whether you live or die. I don't want to have anything to do with what you're doing down here. I am out. And you're leaving him to have to climb back up that fucking rope. Which
all by himself, yeah.
Lucas, Logan, Paul, Kyle didn't really strike me as the type of dude who had that sort of core strength.
Yeah. I mean, he's a wiry guy, so maybe he's got that type of... that rope climbing strength.
Like a low-key athlete?
Yeah. He's got those fast twitch muscles. Yeah, weird move by her. Also, Ross, this dive to the depths of
the silo
down tunnel way brings up another question for me that I'd like one of our Patreon callers that has read these books to call, and you can just tell us this because I can't go on not knowing.
Okay,
where are the mines?
Oh, that they send people to? Yeah, they've never really given us anything there. It almost seems like you get taken out of the silo,
but that's not possible.
That's a good point.
Nobody can get out of this thing. Nobody knows it. Are they like somewhere in between here and Mechanical? Like, are we down like another 100 floors and the mines are like somewhere in between?
That wouldn't make sense though, because mines typically at the bottom of the thing, because you're mining down typically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are the mines?
Where are the mines? Somebody call in. Tell us where the mines are. Where are the mines? Because that's another question we've got.
Yeah.
And another question that I have, but hopefully you can answer, and this doesn't need to be a Patreon conversation. Didn't Juliet go down a rope toward the water in season 1?
Yeah, she does.
Didn't she get in the water? And wasn't it deeper? So was more water drained out since then, or was this a thing I made up in my head?
She's on a rope down here. I can't remember what happens.
Maybe she just went back up. She might
go
to drop down.
She may go back up. Yeah,
which is just even funnier now because she's done 2 fucking hardcore diving missions.
Right.
You know, if only she had had that kind of confidence or drive during season 1, we could have saved an entire season of this fucking show. Anyway, Lucas, Logan, Paul, Kyle goes down to the down the rope, drops into the water, realizes he's correct. He can stand. Sees the tunnel, walks over to the tunnel, starts going down the tunnel, and there's a door at the end of the tunnel, and when he gets there, there's a voice. The door speaks, or, there's a speaker. Lucas, Kyle, why are you here? And then it explains to him that only Salvador Quinn, the code maker, Mary Meadows,
Judge Meadows,
and George Wilkins,
who I did not speak to,
and George is Juliet's late boyfriend,
yes,
have ever made it to the door before. And that if Lucas reveals what he is about to be told, the safeguard will be initiated.
If he reveals anything that
he sees down here or that he's been told,
yes, yeah,
then they will initiate the safeguard. And then roll credits, basically.
Yeah.
So, couple questions. One, you already yelled. What is the safeguard?
Yeah.
You have to assume it's everyone in the silo gets whacked, right?
Correct. Yes.
They fill it with poison air or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
That's the only possibility, really, right?
2, this thing, which I'm assuming is AI, because this sounds exactly like AI. It didn't strike anyone as somebody on the other end with a microphone going, because he knows his name, he names the 3 other people that have been there, it knows too much. So it seems like it is an AI entity communicating with him.
Correct. And it just, I don't get the sense that there's this is like a post and they just every 12 hours they rotate like a new guy. And their job is to just sit here. And if anybody at the other 50 silos makes their way down to this tunnel, then you gotta do the voice and tell them the thing.
Right.
That's not somebody's job.
No, this is an AI thing. But the AI specifically says it did not speak to George Wilkins.
Right. And that's because I don't think that George Wilkins had I'm trying to think of a good comp, but I'm not coming up with one.
Like he didn't go all the way to the door?
No, I think because all George Wilkins found, I think, was like a blueprint or something.
So he knew there was a tunnel.
He knew there was a tunnel. He didn't know all this other stuff. He wasn't like busy like cracking codes and like trying to figure out the rest.
Right.
My thought was that Salvador Quinn, Judge Meadows, and now Lucas Kyle are all on like this quest where they are like, they're pulling the thread. The whole sweater's going to unravel, and this entity knows that they're on that track and has to shut them down by acknowledging their presence and
intervening
and threatening the safeguard. Yes.
Yeah. So does Lucas know what the safeguard is?
I don't think George wasn't as much of a threat because George had no clue what this even could lead to. He hadn't learned about the 50 other silos. He hadn't learned about Salvador Quinn, and he hadn't known all this other kind of.
I don't think he'd even seen. And again, I'm just going off memory of season 1, which feels like a long time ago. But like, I don't even think George had seen stuff like the page out of that book with nature from the before times, or like the video, or any of that. Right. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. The AI asks Lucas, do you know what the safeguard is? And he says yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, you prick. Why didn't you tell us?
Yeah.
What is the safeguard?
Yeah.
But okay, so where do you think this thing goes from here? This silo, not 17, 18. Lucas, his whole situation here, Mayor Bernard.
I don't know, man. I can't even really.
I'm getting the feeling the tunnel thing, they're going to hold over our heads for like at least another full season.
Okay.
Because think about the way it unfolded in season 1. We'd known this tunnel was down here for 10 episodes or whatever. Yeah. But they still haven't given us what the hell the tunnel is or where it leads to.
Yeah.
And if they're like we've assumed at different points that like the tunnel we are aware of probably represents a series of tunnels that connect all of the silos. Maybe that's a possibility.
Yeah, now my guess is also more like spokes on a wheel, and they all connect to central silo. Is what I'm calling it.
Yeah.
Remember there's like the outside power source to
Yep.
which so that would make sense if there's a central
Hub.
pillar hub type
Literally
thing.
central, like
Yes,
in the middle of all of them.
and is pushing power out to each of the
IT floors. Yeah.
That would also make sense if they're delivering food to the vaults, or it gives them access to every single silo, which would help to explain some of how the vault kind of survives.
Another big question is this area that Lucas identifies as not being full of the water it's supposed to be full of.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't it full? Does somebody want people discovering the tunnel?
Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be full or not necessarily. I know he mentions that.
There's
but
like a bunch of
couldn't-
shit down there that's like exposed though that you can tell is probably supposed to be underwater.
Okay. Then yeah,
I'm pretty confident he was correct about that.
Maybe somebody in the mines accidentally drained it.
Which just, I mean, again, it leaves us with more questions. It's like, is there somebody in the central hub that's actually plotting to try to overthrow this whole system because they think it's bad? Is there like a good guy mole in the central hub of bad guys or whatever the fuck you want to refer to them as? Again, hard to call anybody a bad guy when it seems like what the central hub and all of the power players in these silos are doing is trying to keep people from going outside and dying.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So
and that's
yeah.
So and that kind of that's a good segue to something else that's kind of happening in this episode, which is speaking of dis and misinformation. People are beginning to talk about and there's this little kernel of a rumor, right, about how that video that gets played towards the end of season 1 has one of the cleaners saying the display is a lie. Now this piece of the magazine is getting passed around. And this is going to spread like wildfire, and everybody is going to believe that what's there on the magazine, combined with that thing that the display, which they're taking to mean the display that they see from the silo,
which we know actually means the helmet.
Actually means the helmet. Yeah. So you can see how everybody starts to believe now that what they're seeing in this magazine, these rumors of green and blue, lush
and combine this
thriving Earth.
Combine this with Juliet Lives.
Yeah. That's going to push them to further this rebellion and try to open the door because they believe that what's out there is good. That does not seem to be the case. And frankly, honestly, that might be the biggest kind of overarching question is that I don't understand where this will, I shouldn't say I don't understand. I can't guess how this will all end at the end of the series because if the Earth is not habitable, then
where do they go?
Then where do they go? I don't know.
Because the end game of the series cannot be everyone going, oh shit, we do have to stay down here.
That seems like it would be unfulfilling. Yeah.
It would be the most unfulfilling journey ever. Especially with all these questions and shit. That would be very Lost-esque. And we have pretty much been ensured by book readers in the Mollusk Militia on Patreon that there is a very fulfilling and satisfying ending to this story.
Yeah, so I have faith that they'll tell us something. I just don't have faith in how they're going to execute on that telling.
Well, hard to at this point.
Yeah.
Another just really low point in the episode was where Silo was like, oh yeah, sorry, I had another suit. And she's like, that's fine. I just got shot with an arrow and almost drowned and went on 2 diving missions. It was just like very, just sort of bad writing. Yeah, man. I really don't know what to expect now because I still want to stand by my prediction from several episodes ago that what's going to happen here is Juliet's going to finally get out of Silo 17. She's going to return to Silo 18, and she's going to do so right before the rebellion opens the door, and she's going to be like, stop!
I still think that's a good guess.
My question is how this rebellion is going to function because Knox just told Mayor whatever his name is, Mayor Holland, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to use the gunpowder, which is clearly supposed to make the mayor think they plan on using the gunpowder to blow open the door.
Maybe, yeah.
So that can't be what they're actually going to do, or why would you do that? Why would you give the plan up, right? So like, it seems like he has another plan. They just don't get into that in this episode. They're saving that for the finale. And I'll be curious to see if we even see Juliet in episode 10 before she shows up at Silo 17. Because like, what more is there to show us about that? I don't know. I guess a goodbye to Solo, but we kind of just did that.
That felt pretty.
Not much more to achieve there.
Pretty complete.
So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm hoping for more than what we've sort of predicted as in the finale. Like, I'm hoping there's something more explosive. Like, I'm getting this inkling that they are not going to give us any more Lucas Kyle and what happens down at that door this season.
Yeah.
So like, they're going to hold that for season 3.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. And I do hope that season 3 push it. Here's what I kind of think we need. I am willing to wager that there is I would bet on this like central body silo operation hub main bad actors, right? I think that needs to be introduced
as a setting for the show.
And I think that whoever that is, we need them because one of the things that we've just talked about story-wise is how this is a little bit it's interesting, I guess, but it's also kind of frustrating because Bernard's not really a bad guy.
Right.
He is doing bad things. You know, the means may not justify the ends necessarily.
But he thinks they do.
He's using coercion and blackmail and all this type of stuff.
But in his
death.
mind, that's to save 10,000 people.
But in his mind, that's to save 10,000 people. That's to save the entire silo. So he's not really like a bad guy.
He just has the aesthetics of a villain.
Right.
Not the actual drive of one.
So I don't know how this whole silo, Common, Bernard, Down Deep's mechanical, not sure how that will all resolve, but I feel like what I'd maybe like to see is, you know, we already kind of feel like we're maybe roping Sims down onto the side of the rebellion, the mechanical, the good guys. Well, why don't we just put all the whole silo into the section of good guys? Let's find out what this other central thing is. And
where are the bad guys?
Yeah, and make that the kind of conflict, right?
Yeah.
Just because I don't know how much we can continue with this.
We're done here. We're done here.
The Mayor Bernard trying to obfuscate the truth and keep the silos safe. Meanwhile, Mechanical, you know, is insisting on a rebellion because they're scratching the surface of the truth.
And at this point, that truth is spreading enough to like Sheriff Billings has flipped when Mayor Bernard goes into that room and tells the cops that are still there, like, hey, the sheriff's out. He's a rebel. I'm not going to name a new sheriff yet. And here's what we're going to do. It seems like a lot of them are skeptical of him at this point, of the mayor.
Right.
Like they are also starting to sway.
Yeah.
So it feels like Bernard Holland is going to lose.
And we still don't know what Bernard, maybe like what further information he knows. Because he knows about the 51 silos. Does he know what does he know more about who is controlling all of this? And
then to that end, it's like, why have Lucas Kyle doing all this code breaking if you already know more? So I don't feel like he knows more than Lucas does now, perhaps. But, you know, we also know that he's got a suit in case the door gets open to the outside world, right? IT has its own secret suit for the head of IT.
Yeah.
They gave us a little information from Silo 18 that I guess does help us have an idea of what might go down on Silo 17. But yeah, no, it's been a mess. Mm-hmm. It's been a mess of a season, man. And they really did drop the ball in some areas in terms of the storytelling and whatnot. And the pacing has been just fucking horrifying in several episodes.
Yeah.
Especially with Juliet's storyline. I'm still holding out some hope, as I often do, that they can get some redemption in the finale.
Yeah.
Part of the issue is now all of my excitement and focus is turned to Severance. So, and they come out on the same day.
I can't believe they're doing that.
Like, you think I'm going to watch Silo Season 2, Episode 10 before I watch Severance Season 2, Episode 1? No.
Well, I'm going to. I'm going to watch them in that order.
so that you get the bad one out of the way,
Yes,
and then a
yes.
chaser that's amazing.
And I want to finish a show and then start one.
Okay, I like that.
You know what I mean?
I'm on board. Never mind. I take it back. I'll do that.
Am I going to, so if I don't get to both of them on Friday night, then I'm going to do Silo Friday, Severance Saturday. Which, depending on how my week goes, may make more sense anyway, because I think I'll knock out season 1 of Severance this week, but...
You know what? Here's an even better plan. You do Silo season 2 finale Thursday, because it will be out.
Yeah.
Then you get Friday, you have that to look forward to, Severance season 2.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's a win.
Okay.
I just want to stop there. That's a positive note that we can end on. I don't want to spend any more negative energy bashing the Silo.
Yeah. It's been tough, and people really like these books, man, too. And I feel bad for them because I just don't think this has been. There's no way that anybody thinks this has been a great adaptation of the books.
So, not this season. I still think season 1 was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But this has been a massive slip into the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
And look, one other piece of sort of hope for the book readers especially, and for, straight up viewers who are really locked in on this show and don't want to give up on it. Oftentimes, good TV shows do have a bad season. It does happen. It does happen. And you can recover from it, so it's possible. Barrett may be lost forever because they've crushed his spirit over the course of this season. But I'm just saying, it could be done. If next week is an explosive finale that gets some holy shit moments and really gives us momentum in some of these areas that we desperately need it, and it is more, for that to happen, it's going to need to be more than just the rebellion actually taking place and Juliet keeping them from all leaving. We're going to need some of the Lucas Kyle shit. They cannot just fucking withhold that for another year and a half or whatever till the next season comes out.
I feel like we're due for at least one more conversation between him and Bernard.
Yeah. Lucas and Bernard?
Yeah.
And so they could do a good finale that gets you excited for season 3 and then recapture the magic with season 3. But this season, by and large, has been a failure. This has been rough. I mean, I haven't watched that many shows on Apple TV Plus, but they have definitely done a good job of elevating themselves toward the prestige tier of TV, right?
Yep.
And I think this was one of their most popular shows.
I mean, it's number 1 on their chart right now.
And to have it sort of be a massive flop of a season feels like a devastating blow to them. The one positive is they have what is inarguably one of the best shows on TV finally returning after a 3-year absence, literally as this disappointing season of Silo is ending. So maybe that gives them some leeway. But yeah, man, kind of a bummer. So we'll see. We'll see how the finale goes, and I'm sure Barrett and I will touch on it on Patreon at least for a minute or two next week. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have anything to do on Monday. We can just go extra long and cover both of these shows. We could even, if you can watch on Thursday, we could record Patreon this week on Friday and just have that be our Silo finale coverage. We can talk about it off mic. We'll figure it out. But yeah. Severance next week. Very stoked for the return of what is definitely one of the best first seasons of TV I've ever watched. And from the looks of it, based on the early reviews, they seem to have been able to maintain. Because that's a dude. Just I was talking off mic with our ad sales guy Dan and producer Kade, and it's like Severance is scary because it was so well done and so complicated, and there is no source material.
Yes,
like you're entirely dependent on the writers coming up with more amazing shit that at least matches the level of season 1 and has it make sense and that 3-year absence made it seem like maybe there isn't, a full, maybe they don't have this all storyboarded yet, and it's really hard to come up with really great shit, as everybody knows. Like, you can look at Silo Season 2 as evidence. So, and that's with source material. It's still tough. So, I'm stoked to see that people are excited.
Quick question on Silo. Excuse me, Severance. Do you feel like or are aware that this is that Severance is taking place in like an alternate universe, basically?
Yeah, a little bit, because that town they're in is like named Kier.
They live in Kier.
And one of the questions I had during season 1 is like, is everybody in the town somehow tied to the bigger picture?
To Lumen. Yeah.
Right.
It kind of seems like they are.
But then you've got like his sister who doesn't seem to
Who
be
does not
so far.
Correct.
Brother-in-law who's like an author, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions. Anyway, but no, it does not seem like it's like
Yeah, and there's like
the version of reality that they live in is not the same as ours. Because even one of the questions for Helly during her entrance interview is like, name a state.
Yes. Right.
I think she says like Delaware, which felt intentionally specific.
Right.
Like Delaware.
Like they're supposed. I know they're kind of in this alternate reality. They're like somewhere northeasty.
Right.
But then like there's the senator, and at one point they have his name on a news article, and it says parentheses PE, but that's not a state. The E could be Egan. It's like did they make their own state?
Right.
But yeah, that's just one of the things that I've been like really tuned in on or tuned in with on this rewatch is trying to figure out like where this is supposed to be.
Like what version of the United States is this?
Correct.
Like what has occurred here?
Yeah.
I'm hoping they get more into that in season 2.
Which is I mean there's a lot to plumb if they wish to.
Got to plumb.
That's
Gotta get in there
with a
plumb.
B on the end. There.
Yeah, so Barrett and I will be back later this week on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, taking hotline calls from the members of the Mollusk Militia that are there on Patreon supporting our show and further discussing and digesting this penultimate episode of Silo. Maybe we'll get some positive feedback from the book readers there. Who knows? And then we'll be prepared for Severance Season 2 next week. Remember to get on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles today. Enjoy a 7-day free trial. You can check out all the bonus hotline call-driven coverage we have done throughout the course of Season 2, as well as the massive backlog of content, ad-free, exclusive episodes of OCC, available on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Support our sponsors if you would. Today we had factormeals.com/OCC50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Very important that you support the sponsors. Tell your friends and family about our show. Tell everyone you know who is watching Severance to tune into Oysters, Clams, and Cockles as their companion podcast. As Barrett and I have been looking forward to breaking down Season 2 for years. It's finally here. We made it. Follow Mr. Dudley at Barrett Dudley on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with him, the other content he does. And follow me at WR Bolin for the same from my side. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We look forward to hearing everyone's reactions on Patreon later this week and reading them on social media. Until next time, who built a silo?